Uncle Henrik is about to depart for his boat, leaving the people gathered with the coffin. Present are an old man, a couple with a young baby, the Rosens, Peter Nilsson, Anne-Marie, and Mrs. Johansson. As Henrik walks out, the old man says, "God keep you safe." Henrik returns the blessing, modifying it to include everyone in the room. Anne-Marie looks at Ellen sitting between the Rosens and feels sad that they are in different worlds now. Ellen is headed for something Anne-Marie will not be able to share with her. Anne-Marie dozes in a chair and is awakened by headlights. Officers approach and pound on the door. They want to know why there are so many people in the house. Mrs. Johansson tells them a family member has died. The officers storm in and turn to Anne-Marie, asking her who died. As Anne-Marie answers, she thinks how right Uncle Henrik was. The more you know, the harder it is to be brave. She lies and says Great-Aunt Bert died. The officer is not satisfied. He wants to know why they have not kept the custom of leaving the casket open. He demands that it be opened. Mrs. Johansson goes to the casket and says they are right. Great-Aunt Bert's face should be seen even if she did die of typhus. The officer slaps Mrs. Johansson for her stupidity, puts out the candles, and leaves. Anne-Marie moves to comfort her mother, but realizes that she must not touch her since the departing officers might see them. Peter begins to read a psalm that praises the Lord who numbered the stars one by one. They all sit and listen. The old man knows it by heart. Anne-Marie is on the brink of tears, but she does not want to cry. The sky is too big to number the stars, Anne-Marie thinks. She feels that the sky is big and cold and cruel, and so is the world. When he finishes reading, Peter opens the casket. There is nothing in the casket except blankets and clothing. He distributes the items to the people gathered, saying they will need them for protection against the cold. Anne-Marie watches Ellen put on a jacket. She knows Ellen has never worn anything so shabby before. Peter can find nothing for the baby, so Mrs. Johansson gets one of Kirsty's favorite sweaters. Peter makes the baby take some drops so it will be quiet, saying they cannot take any chances. Mrs. Johansson passes out the food and Peter hands Mr. Rosen a paper package. He tells him it is very important that he give it to Henrik at the boat. Anne-Marie realizes that Mr. Rosen does not know what is in the package and does not ask, because it is safer not to know. Peter leaves with everyone except the Rosens, telling Mrs. Johansson to follow in 20 minutes. For the first time, Peter calls Mrs. Johansson by her first name, Inch. Anne-Marie takes this as a sign that Peter has a place in the world of adults. Peter says goodbye to Anne-Marie and departs. The old man stumbles on the way out, but Mrs. Johansson says he is all right. If he heard anything, it was just his pride. Anne-Marie thinks about that word. She looks at the Rosens, all bundled in worn clothing. She thinks of all the good things and times they left in Copenhagen. It has become clear to Anne-Marie that Uncle Henrik is going to take the Rosens and the others to Sweden in his boat. She remembers that Mrs. Rosen is scared of the ocean and that there will be other fears to face, too. As she looks at the Rosens, she sees that they are sitting up straight. They have not changed so much from the way they were before. Pride, Anne-Marie realizes, can come from other things than the material goods the Rosens left behind. Anne-Marie realizes that she and Ellen are being divided. Though she has never felt any difference between herself and her best friend, Anne-Marie must now accept that they are on different paths. With Anne-Marie's acceptance of their differences comes an acknowledgement that there are multiple worlds within the one larger world they all live in. Anne-Marie's observation, that her friendship with Ellen is not broken, but has changed, points out one of the sad effects of the war. Whatever happens to Ellen and her family, their happy lives have been changed forever. When the soldiers come to the house, Anne-Marie compares their arrival to a recurring nightmare. This is not the first time that Anne-Marie associates events having to do with the war with an alternate reality. To her, the soldiers' arrival has all the makings of a nightmare. It is potentially so terrible that it takes on an unreal, dreamlike quality. Anne-Marie also knows now that they are in real danger. Each encounter Anne-Marie has with German soldiers increases the discomfort she feels in their presence. This is her fourth encounter. The others happened on the way home from school, when soldiers came to search the apartment, and on the train to Uncle Henrik's. With each encounter, Anne-Marie understands a little more about what is happening. When the soldiers come to the funeral, she sees once again why it is so important not to know too much. Anne-Marie is able to answer the officer's question, but she realizes that it was easier to sound convincing because she does not really know what is in the coffin.